In a group chat with Ted, Richard, Miranda, Julius, Peter, Martin, Mike, and Liberty, Athena discusses an upcoming hunt of the deplorables at the manor. On a private jet later, Richard's conversation with the flight attendant is interrupted when one of the deplorables, Randy, staggers in from the cargo. While Richard exclaims about Randy being awake, Ted takes control of the situation and assures Randy of being a doctor. Getting him to lie down, Ted mentions putting him back to sleep since he woke up before he was supposed to. Unexpectedly then, he punctures Randy's neck with a pen. Shocked, Randy attacks everyone around him and the commotion wakes Athena up from her sleep. Armed with a heel, she then ruthlessly pokes it into Randy's eye despite the hunt not having begun yet. Arriving at their destination, the hunt begins when the remaining 11 captives wake up in a forest and find themselves gagged. While Crystal decides to go off on her own, the others, including Yoga Pants, gather in a clearing where they find a crate. Anticipating a trap, Dawn, Yoga Pants, and Big Red retreat to a safe distance as Target works on opening the crate. The trap turns out to be a harmless pig who immediately scampers away. Target then pulls out a host of weapons from the crate, which piques the interest of the other captives. While everyone rushes to pick a weapon, Yoga Pants finds the keys to their gags taped to the abandoned cover of the crate. After she gets Trucker's gag off, he returns the favor before turning to the rest of the group. Once everyone arms themselves, they hear the sound of a rifle being shot and rush to take cover. While Yoga Pants is the first to succumb to the attack, Bandana Man follows soon after. On the other hand, Dead Sexy runs into a spike pit and ends up impaled. Trucker pulls her out but unfortunately steps on a landmine. While Dead Sexy is flung back into the spike pit, Trucker immediately meets his end. Fatally injured, Dead Sexy is shot by Staten Island's gun even as he crawls back to safety. Rushing through the forest, then he comes across a barbed wire fence. Soon joined by Target, Vanilla Niece, and Big Red, the group then climbs over the fence. However, Target is shot with an arrow, and while the others proceed ahead without him, he is subsequently taken out by a grenade. Meanwhile, Vanilla Niece and Big Red arrive at a gas station with Staten Island, where they learn that they are in Arkansas. Using the shop's phone, Staten Island calls the emergency number and reports about the hunting spree. Comparing the experience to Manorgate, he then details that they were captured from all over the country and reiterates that they were in danger. Once assured that help is on the way, Staten Island gets off the phone, just as he is reminded that his attackers are simply exercising the same right as him to possibly protect themselves. Big Red chokes due to a poisoned donut she ate. Posing as owners of the shop, Miranda and Julius, who came across as scared and innocent till now, suddenly pull up their masks before rolling out cans of poisonous gas. Staten Island is then shot while Vanilla Nice inhales the gas and meets his end, cleaning the place up later. Miranda feels sorry for Staten Island when she notices his wedding ring. Julius simply justifies their deeds by reminding Miranda that Staten Island and his ancestors caused a ton of problems for plenty of African Americans over the years. Athena contacts them just then and informs them about an unarmed Crystal coming their way soon. When a dazed-looking Crystal gets there, she buys herself a pack of cigarettes. Realizing that the change she receives is too little, she suddenly slams Miranda on the counter and swings herself over. Using the shotgun under the counter, she shoots Julius before turning on Miranda and taking her out as well. Opening her pack of cigarettes then, she sees that it is empty. Grabbing enough ammunition, she leaves the shop with the shotgun. Outside, ripping out an Arkansas license plate of a truck, she realizes that they are actually in a foreign country. Uncovering a booby trap on its door, she sees that it is wired to explode. Realizing that she narrowly avoided that fate overwhelms her before she tracks Athena and the others through the radio she found in the shop earlier. Following Athena's instructions to check on Crystal, Richard flies a drone over the shop. Hiding from the drone, Crystal spots when it is suddenly shot down by someone. Further destroying the drone, Gary then approaches the truck just as Crystal makes her presence known. Recognizing an ally in her, Gary decides to accompany her as she heads off to observe the tracks she found earlier. On their way, he tells her about an article he read detailing how a bunch of liberal elites kidnap some normal people to hunt them for fun every year. Sensing an oncoming train, Crystal flings herself onto it before helping Gary. Surprisingly, they find a group of refugees who Gary concludes aren't actual refugees but possibly just some crisis actors instead. The train suddenly comes to a grinding halt then, and Croatian soldiers force everyone to get off. Stashing their weapons on the train, Crystal and Gary join the refugees outside. Speaking to one of the soldiers, Gary informs him about being American, and also adds his observation about the refugees not being real. As a podcaster, he says that he knows about the refugees being placed on the train to participate in Manorgate. When he is ignored, one of the refugees, Mike, admits to being a hunter but clearly states that the rest of the refugees are real and so are the soldiers. As it turns out, the raid was not anticipated, as the train wasn't originally supposed to stop. Urging Gary to calm down, Mike then even offers to give him and Crystal a head start in return for his cooperation. However, Gary uses a grenade and gets rid of Mike. Transported to a bustling refugee camp later, Crystal meets Dino and Boyan. Stating that she was kidnapped from Mississippi, she urges Dino to call the embassy to help her get back home. Instead, he simply instructs Boyan to get someone named Don, whom Crystal recognizes to be a captive just like herself. While the two have a meal together, they see the arrival of Oliver from the American embassy in Croatia. While Don is positively relieved about being rescued, Crystal keeps her guard up even as he drives them back to the embassy. Her wariness proves to be right when he seems overly interested in finding out why they were specifically chosen for the hunt. Kicking him out of the car, Crystal then backs the car into him and runs him over. Arming herself with his gun, she opens the trunk of the car and discovers Gary's corpse there. In a box labeled bribe money, Crystal finds a map just as Don calculates how many people the hunt began with. Seeing Gary's state, he then concludes that he and Crystal are the only ones left alive now. Refusing to simply leave with the car, Crystal then tells Don a story that her mother used to tell her about the jackrabbit and the box turtle. She says that confident about his speed, the jackrabbit had one day decided to take on the challenge of the box turtle. To make the race seem close, he took a nap on the way and ended up losing the race instead. For revenge, he turned up at the box turtle's home later with a hammer and massacred the family. Elsewhere, the group chat members await Oliver's arrival with Crystal and Don at the destination on the map. When Richard takes a break and exits the bunker, he is taken aback when he sees Don there. Taking advantage of the distraction, Crystal easily kills Richard. Sensing the commotion outside, the group's tactical consultant, Sergeant Dale, gets everyone alert and in position. Confident that any intruder will certainly hit the tripwires set around the bunker, the group waits for the signs. When a harmless pig gets to the bunker, it gets ruthlessly shot at, much to Liberty's disappointment. Exactly as Crystal anticipated, the group bickers over their reaction to the pig, allowing her to take her shot and get Martin down. While Crystal shoots at Sergeant Dale, she is alerted to Liberty's presence as she narrowly misses her attack. Impaling her with an arrow, she then faces Ted and shoots him. Grabbing a rifle then, she aims at an escaping Peter and takes him down as well. On her way out of the bunker, however, Sergeant Dale attacks her and she manages to fatally injure him. Don joins her just as she holds Liberty at gunpoint. While Don tries to stop Crystal from ending Liberty, Crystal shoots her anyway. Athena's voice crackles over the radio just then, surprisingly calling for Don. Realizing that Don isn't on her side, Crystal threatens him to drop his gun and answer Athena. However, Don refuses to surrender, insisting that he is innocent and that Crystal is being played with. While Athena urges him to get rid of Crystal, she eliminates him before he can harm her. When she informs Athena about Don's end, she is challenged to find Athena. Going over to a heavily injured Sergeant Dale, Crystal finds out that he trained the group only because he owed a favor to Athena. When she asks where she can find her, he refuses to say anything and instead just tells her to go home. Poking a finger into one of his wounds then, she manages to coax Athena's location from him. He warns her, however, that Athena has been training for 8 months. Unfazed by the information, Crystal replies that she served in Afghanistan. Eventually, she puts him out of his misery before proceeding further. As it turns out, as the CEO of her business, Athena had a meeting a year ago, with Martin's data having recently leaked, and his controversial views about the president having come to light. Everything he was involved in had attracted the management's spotlight. Consequently, Athena had been questioned about the text thread she was in with him and the others. While the chat had been just a joke amongst a group of friends, Manorgate had ended up sparking a popular conspiracy theory on the internet. In addition to Martin, Richard, Miranda, Julius, and Liberty also had to face the consequences, and Athena was kicked out of the business as well. In the aftermath of losing their jobs as well as their reputation, the group had then planned to commit the crime they had been blamed for. Meticulous research was put into who was responsible for the popularity of the conspiracy theory, and the group had eventually rounded up a list of 12 names that caused the most harm. With her name included in that list, Crystal now approaches the manor. Forced to disarm, she surrenders her weapon before she is allowed to enter. Inside, she finds photographs of everyone who made the list before she finally comes face to face with Athena. While Crystal knows nothing about Athena, she quickly realizes that Athena knows everything there is to know about her, right from her birth to dropping out of school, and even how she lost her parents. Athena then reads out Crystal's online post made under a screen name that detailed her hate for Athena's penchant for hunting people. Further, she justifies her activities by saying that the conspiracy is now something real just because people like Crystal made it come true. To Athena's surprise, however, Crystal tells her about having caught the wrong Crystal. There is another Crystal in her hometown, she says, who spells her middle name differently. Admitting that she frequently gets the wrong male as well, Crystal then adds that her parents are both alive. Refusing to believe in the blunder, however, Athena gets into a fight with Crystal. With neither woman willing to give up, their fight ransacks the kitchen until Athena uses a blowtorch for her defense. Pushing Athena into a cabinet, Crystal manages to knock the blowtorch out of her hands before throwing random things at her. Armed with a shotgun then, Athena injures Crystal's arm before eventually stabbing her with a kitchen knife. A series of strangulations and kicks follow, until Athena spots the blade of a food processor and impales Crystal with it. Unwilling to go down alone, Crystal repeatedly pushes herself onto Athena, thereby stabbing her with the food processor's blade as well. During Athena's last moments, Crystal confirms that she indeed got the wrong crystal. Waiting for her own end later, Crystal suddenly spots a jackrabbit, which reminds her to get back on her feet. With renewed energy, she cauterizes her wound before changing into Athena's clothes and leaving the manor with her dog. Boarding Athena's private jet, she then asks to be taken home.